Going.
We're being recorded and we're started. And so, good. We're going to wait a couple minutes to let people come in.
Sure. Do people have access to the chat? They do, right?
They do. They
I have it up.
Good. Excellent.
So Naomi, I'm just going to let you go ahead and monitor chat. I'll be here if anything happens, but if you're comfortable with that.
That's fine.
Morning, Shauna.
Shanna, her name is Shanna. I may or may not know her.
You may or may not know her. Okay. It's not Shauna, it's Shanna. Okay.
Shanna. Hi, Shanna.
So let's wait about one more minute and then we'll go ahead and get started because I know that you've got a lot to cover here. So. Oh, shoot. I'm so sorry. My phone is ringing. Excuse me just one second.
It's all good. I know I have to make sure I silence things.
Oh, yep.
But I think I did. I think we're good.
I think I did too, but let's just double check. Yep, we're good.
That was an overflow call that I did not answer. So too bad for whoever that was. Okay, so we're here. We're good. We're going to get started. You are, thank you for coming to Comic-Con. We have other panels that are going on this afternoon at Eisenhower Library, so please drop in on some of those. And we are currently recording live on Facebook, so if you need to go back and watch this again because it was so amazing, you will be able to do that. And please ignore the phone ringing in the background because I can't make it stop. And yeah, so you are in webinar mode, so your camera is blocked, your mic is blocked, so please just use the Q&A if you've got anything, or the chat, and we'll be monitoring that. And this is Naomi, who's going to moderate, and this is Steph. And I turn it over to you guys, and have a lovely time.
Thank you.
All right, well, welcome everyone. Welcome to Mini Comic-Con, our virtual event, second year in a row. We're making sure that everyone's safe, everyone's happy, and that we're gonna still have a good time and enjoy the arts. So I would like to introduce Ms. Steph Stanga. She is a artist that has done a lot of work with us in the past. She's a freelance artist who does a lot of digital work. And if you would like to go ahead and tell us a few more other things that you do.
Oh yeah, for sure. Thank you for having me. I'm Steph Stanga. I live in Chicago. I'm an illustrator, or an artist is accurate as well. I am mostly a digital illustrator. Which means I primarily work on my iPad Pro, sometimes my computer with Photoshop. And I will be showing you a video of that today. Sorry, my cats are fighting. That's great timing. I do a lot of personal work, and I sell my personal work at art shows or Comic Cons, which I miss so much. So this is really great. Thank you for having me again. And we are just open to any and all questions. I do, like I said, I have a video if we want to get started now, Naomi. That's
absolutely.
I'm just going to screen share. So
perfect. That would be great.
I'll
yeah.
talk while that is going on.
Yep. So anyone that's here, feel free to go ahead and type in chat if you have any questions as we're going along. I'm going to go ahead and be taking a look in the chat while we're going. And Steph, if you want to go ahead and start.
Sure. So I am using Procreate. This is an app on an iPad. I believe it is on other platforms as well, but don't quote me on that. It's like my favorite thing, my favorite app. I have an Apple Pencil with a little ergonomic grippy thing on it. Which really helps because if you draw a lot like I do, your hands and arms and wrists and back and neck, everything just hurts all the time. So here I am starting with a sketch. You might have guessed by now that it is a little squirrel friend. I usually start with the head. I start with a circular shape, and then I kind of block in the eyes and the face, and then I kind of move on to the body. I would say that when I first started drawing, I was definitely putting in more shapes for the body, like squares and circles and like more of those kind of shapes. Now I kind of just block in a general shape because you don't see any circles there in the body right now. And then I kind of go from there and add little details. I've actually had this idea, this illustration in my head for a long time, which is kind of how it goes for me. I think about something for like days, sometimes weeks, and then I'm like, all right, I'm finally going to draw this. Let's do this. And then I kind of just, I start like this. A lot of artists do little thumbnails first. They do multiple thumbnails to get a better idea of what they want the illustration to look like. I'm kind of a bad artist in that sense. I never do thumbnails. And I'm not saying that's the best way to do things. It's just the way I do things. So thumbnails can be helpful. I very rarely do them. Also, the luxury of using your iPad is that you can draw something, and if you hate it or if it's not going in the right direction, you can hit, go back, undo, or just erase it very easily and continue on. That is a luxury. Obviously, you can't get that drawing on paper, which I do from time to time. Also, yeah, there we go. Putting in little details. I was going to say, if I had to, I filmed this in real time, obviously, and the video was over an hour, and I had to cut down like a bunch of little details and stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm fast or slow, but I had a lot in this video. So I was like, oh shoot, what do I cut out? So if the video kind of like cuts to a weird part, that's why, and I'll explain that.
So what are the benefits of using basic shapes while you're drawing?
The benefits of that are, understanding like what kind of a shape the subject matter is supposed to be. And you can easily change that. So if you like block out some shapes and you're not really liking it, or it's not exactly what you thought, you can kind of redo just those shapes without going into so much detail and then having to erase all that and start over. Like, you've done so much work, and if you start with the details, all of a sudden you're like, wait, this doesn't look right. So starting with shapes kind of gives you always want to start simple, then move on to details. So here I am inking, which is my favorite part of the process, actually. And I spend a lot of time inking because I love it so much. I love putting in the little details, like the little wrinkles and the freckles and the whiskers and whatever it might be. I love doing that. You might notice that you can still see the sketch underneath. And another benefit of doing digital work is you can bring down the opacity of the sketch layer and make a new layer and draw with darker lines on top of that, and then later erase the sketch layer, which is how I work. Everyone has their own technique, and nothing, in my opinion, nothing is really right or wrong. But, I meet a lot of artists who will have like 100 layers, and that's fine. And they do and some of them do much more complicated things than I do. But I'm like a solid 3 to 5 layer kind of girl, which is not many. So
There's nothing wrong with that. We got a question from chat. It says, do you use reference, or is this all from your head?
Good question. I do use reference for some things. I did not use reference for this squirrel or the mushrooms because I draw animals a lot. So I have a really good understanding of what animals look like and how their bodies move. I actually did, though, and you'll see it in a little bit because I don't think we're there yet, but pretty soon I'm going to add a little woolly, what are they called? Woolly bear caterpillar on top of one of the mushrooms. And I did use reference for the caterpillar because I couldn't remember if it goes black, orange, black, or if it was orange, black, orange. So I do use reference for things that I truly cannot remember. Or if there's like a certain pose that, you know, if I was going to draw the squirrel, like doing something crazy, like jumping or doing a dance move, like I'm not a dancer, I don't know. So if I, for example, was going to like draw the squirrel dancing or anything dancing, I would look up a dance pose, but that's just one example. So for this guy, I did not.
And what do you say to artists that say that using references is cheating?
That's not cheating. That's 100% not cheating. That's I mean, I understand that people have their opinions, but observing, I mean, how does any artist work? How does any artist get inspired by anything? You're always going to be looking at stuff. In my case, like I love animals. I grew up watching Animal Planet and zoo books and also Disney movies. So like I constantly reference those things in my head. If you want to draw something correctly and you really don't know how to draw it, reference is how you're going to get there. I really disagree with people who say it's cheating. Yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it is a topic. I mean, there's tracing and there's references.
Yeah,
And
tracing, yeah.
yep. I remember starting out, I would go to the library. Actually, it was the library that I work for now when I was a kid, and I would check out books about how to draw. And sometimes I would trace from the books, you know, when you're
Yeah,
young and you're learning. And I mean,
yeah.
there's a difference between, you know, tracing just to learn and understand for your own benefit, and then there's
Yes.
copying.
Absolutely. I was going to say the same thing about tracing. I trace things, but there's a right time and a wrong time, I guess, to do that. When I'm tracing, I actually will upload a photo into Procreate and I may trace like the outside shape, or if there's like a little detail that I don't understand, I might trace that little detail. But the thing is, I'm not necessarily like selling that as my own. I'm just trying to get a better understanding of what it is I'm looking at or what it is that I'm trying to do. And the thing about drawing is you do it enough, you have muscle memory and eventually you're going to know, like the squirrel. I've drawn a lot of squirrels. I know what I'm, going for at that point. Although I don't recall tracing any squirrels, but you know what I mean?
I absolutely know what you mean. Yeah. Um, there's there's a lot of benefits of using different resources. A lot of people will post things that they will be like, hey, you know, you could color this yourself for practice, or you could do some outlining or things like that for
Yeah,
practice. There's definitely a lot of tools that can be used, and it just depends on how you use them.
yeah, for sure. I'm really struggling with the inside of this mushroom. And I remember this, and this is actually a perfect case where I should have looked up reference to figure out the inside of this mushroom. And I think I might go back and do that. But when I was working on this at the time, I was like, it's fine. But now that I look at it, I'm like, that's not fine. That's another thing. That's another thing. I constantly go back to previous pieces. Well, not from a long time ago, but like recent pieces that I might have been working on, and I might, tweak something or like look up reference and do something a little better if I'm able to, depending on where I am in the process.
Um, do you have problems with being a perfectionist with your pieces? And if so, how do you deal with that?
Um, it's weird because I would say I am a perfectionist about other things in my life. But when it comes to illustration and art, I don't think I am. I don't think I am a perfectionist. And the reason is I've been doing this for a long time. I'm 34. I've been drawing for like 33 years. And so I think I'm just used to the concept of like, well, I can always do it again. I can always do it again. I can always do better. I've probably in the beginning, I think, concerned that, I was obsessed. I was never going to get this one thing right. I was never going to be able to draw a woolly bear caterpillar. And eventually oh, there's a cat. Hello. eventually you get kind of used to the idea that, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to draw another caterpillar and it's going to be even better than this caterpillar that I've drawn today. So I would say that I'm not a perfectionist in that sense.
I love that you're doing the classic color again instead of like the fill with the bucket, because this is how like I grew up doing digital art as well. And there's just
Yeah.
something very very chill about it. And I absolutely love seeing it. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with different techniques, but this is one of my favorites.
I'm so glad you called that out, because I feel, and I do it to myself too. I feel a lot of judgment from people. My fiance, even, he'll be like, why are you not using the fill bucket? And I'll tell you why. It's because I don't really like it in Procreate. I actually will use the fill bucket tool in Photoshop. But that being said, the therapy aspect of coloring in the lines, oh,
So nice.
so good. It's so
Yep.
good. I know not everyone feels that way, but I love traditionally coloring in a space. I'll do it.
There's just something very satisfying and relaxing about it. And I feel the same way, you know. Just because sometimes there's a faster way to do it doesn't mean that you have to take that route, because
No.
if this is the route that you enjoy, walk that path.
Yes, I very much enjoy doing this. I actually, inking and so drawing and inking are my favorites. I'm actually super intimidated by coloring.
Same.
I don't, yeah, like I don't love it. I'll do it. It's sometimes very therapeutic. But kind of like whenever I'm done inking something, I'm really tempted to just leave it forever.
I know.
But yeah, and we're blocking in flat colors right now. That's the point that we're at in the video, which is kind of the most therapeutic, because you get to pick the colors. You can easily change them. It's just no pressure, one color. We're not getting into like details or values yet. We're just doing one color.
One thing that just for me with colors, because I struggle with coloring, I struggle with picking the right tones, the right shades. So a lot of websites will have automatic palette generators.
Ooh, yeah.
And you can, one of my favorite websites to hit up is called Design Seeds. And
Ooh.
people will upload references of a photo, and then they pick colors from it. And then that you end up with pre-made palettes. And you can just pull the palette and you have up to 5 colors. And if you stay within that color scheme, you don't really have to worry too much about, you know, is this the right shade? Is this the right tone? You know, and you can still be an artist even if you struggle with certain parts of the process. There are very few people that can do every single part, from the sketches to the lining to the, you know, like perfectly, you know.
Yeah. I actually just wrote down the name of that because I think that's really cool. I've actually experimented with limited palette pieces. I have a couple illustrations that are just like, you'll only see like 4 or 5 colors in them. And it's really fun. It's really fun. And I do it from time to time. And you can actually, in Procreate, you can actually build a palette, and you can only stick to that if you want.
Nice.
Yeah, so I've done that a few times, and yeah, it's good fun. It's fun challenging yourself a little bit too.
Now, what made you choose Procreate for yourself as an artist?
I think, and this was, I don't know, this was a few years ago. I think whenever the first iPad Pro came out, you know, there were other apps, but I was really looking for something that was similar to Photoshop, because you cannot get a full version of Photoshop on iOS, iPad, or your phone, although I wouldn't recommend doing it on a phone.
No.
You can't get a full version of Photoshop on your iPad. So I heard about this app called Procreate, and I tried it out, I think, on a friend's iPad, and I was like, this is amazing. It's very close. It's not there yet, but it's very close. And it has everything I need. And they constantly update it. When I first bought Procreate, it didn't have text capabilities. Like you couldn't add text to an image, and now you can. And that was kind of a big deal for me. So it's the same, almost the same. So I highly recommend it, especially if people are maybe like too intimidated by Photoshop, because Photoshop is huge.
It is.
And I would say Procreate is getting there. It's almost like too big, too scary. But I think it's the best, because why not have everything available to you if you can.
And I'm just going to do a quick shout out to anyone that's watching. If you're interested in learning about any of these programs, if you're wanting to learn about Procreate, if you want to learn about Photoshop, if you want to learn about even Adobe Sketchbook, you can always come to the library and check out a book that has information about it before you make any investment in any digital art program, because not all art programs are created equal, and not all art programs work as well with everyone. You know, you have to find what works the best for you, and that can take trial and error, but I know not everybody has the funds and the resources, so please come onto the library and check out some books about it, and we can help you maybe find a resource that you would like.
Yeah, great call out.
I love your woolly caterpillar, by the way.
Thank
so
you.
Cute.
Thank you. I was just going to say, and hopefully I'm still doing it. No, I'm putting in little shiny highlights right now, but just right before this, I was actually, and I think I'll do it to the caterpillar. I actually, here on my layers, I made a clipping mask layer for the line art. So the black lines that you see there, I put a clipping mask over it, which is basically just a layer that is locked to the layer below it. And that's how I turned the underside of the mushrooms. They were black, and I made the line work brown instead. And you can just I can just put my brush over it, and it just turns the lines brown instead of black. And you can do this with any color, any layer. And I think it just helps give some variety to the line work. Because I actually love artwork that has all black line art. Maybe it's because of comic books, I don't know, but it's still nice to give some variety. Like in the mushroom spots where the white spots are, you can see that the lines are now a dark red instead of a black line. And I think it just kind of gives it more of an artistic feel.
Oh, you know what we didn't talk about last year and this year? What are your settings for your canvas? What is your DPI? What is your
yeah, good call. So I really love square canvases. It kind of depends on if I'm working with a client, it totally depends on what they want, of course. But if I'm doing any personal work, I am a huge fan of square little illustrations. So I do a 10 by 10 inch canvas at 300 DPI. That's typically what I do.
What would you how do I word this? So what are the benefits of staying at 300 DPI and above, not going below 300 DPI?
So 300 DPI and above is for print quality. So I just kind of make sure that all my designs are at print quality, unless I know for a fact that it's not going there. Because not all my designs make it to print. But if you have something lower than 300 and you're trying to make it look like a good print quality, you're going to have a time trying to alter that and get that there. Like if you take a 172 DPI piece and you in the settings change it to 300, it's going to look pixelated and weird and maybe blurry, and it's hard to come back from that. So
yep.
I would always do 300. I don't think I've actually ever gone higher. Maybe if I was doing something, actually that's a lie, because when I made my banner for my table display, the banner DPI was massive. I don't remember what it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's that saying that you can always make it smaller, but you can't make it bigger. So
Correct.
the bigger that you make it, that when you start, you can always shrink it down. But if you make it small and you try to, blow that image up, it's not going to work.
Yeah, exactly. I also do a lot of, I play a lot with opacity in layers as well. So when I make the shiny bits on the mushroom or the shiny bits on the water drops, I might make those their own layer, and I'll make it as white as it can be, and I'll put in those shines, and then I'll go to that layer and bring down the opacity to like 40, 50 maybe. And that way it's not such a drastic shine, unless you really want that. But I do play with opacity a lot too. And I always,
Go ahead.
I always put little blushes on my characters as well. And that's another opacity trick that I use. So I make it as red as it can be, and then I'll paint in the blush. I'll paint in the blush usually, so it's like bright red, and then I'll bring it down to like 20 or 30 actually. And then you get a nice blush.
On average, about how many different types of brushes would you say you use? Do you have like a set handful you work on? Do you just kind of go hog wild?
It's such an interesting question, and I have no reason to be embarrassed with my answer. I download a lot of brush tools because you can, just like in Photoshop and with Procreate, you can download brush packs. I download them because I'm like, oh, look how cool these are. I use on average 2 to 3 brushes, the same ones every time, but for different steps. So when I'm sketching, I'll use, I think it's called technical pencil. And then for inking, which I did use here, my favorite inking pen is called dry ink. And then for painting, I just use a round brush, which is like the first brush that ever existed in Photoshop. So I use a round brush. Sometimes if I'm feeling playful, they have a lot of textured brushes, so you can get like something that looks like a watercolor texture or like speckly, something like that, once in a while.
Yeah, I download a lot of brushes too. And so I use a program, I guess it's considered a dead program. I use Adobe Sketchbook. I used to, yeah, so it's technically, I guess, considered dead. I used to, when I had a Mac, that was the thing that I would use because I couldn't afford Photoshop. So that was about like $30 a year, I think. But then they went free a couple years ago. And you can get it on your phone and everything, and you can still look up and you can download different brushes. Unfortunately, even through their website, not all the brushes are still available. They used to do like a weekly, but you can still make your own brushes. The program is still very highly functional. And as long as if you find a program that works for you and it just works, just use it.
Yeah, I think that's totally fine. I've kind of worked myself into a corner a little bit because I'm so happy with Procreate and I can do everything I want with Procreate. I don't unfortunately explore a lot of other programs, but it's what I'm comfortable with and it makes me happy. So everyone should be able to do that.
Absolutely. I mean, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to, just because a new program comes out, just because there's a new trend, it doesn't mean that you have to follow it. I know plenty of artists that do work with just even, a Sharpie and printer paper, and they're happy.
Yeah. I don't think what you use determines your value as an artist.
I love all the little details you're putting in here. This
Thank
piece
you.
speaks
Yeah,
to me.
Thank you. It is a lot of fun. Sometimes I get sucked into it and then all of a sudden I'm doing too much, or, time flies. I time travel. What time is it? How long have I been drawing this caterpillar?
What year is it?
What year is it?
He's
so I'm putting
cute.
in, thank you. I'm putting in little variation strokes on his fur since he is fuzzy. I am a huge fan of actually doing, and I do them one by one, but I'm a huge fan of doing little, I don't think they're called hatch marks because in this, they're going the same direction, but little lines all over. I love how that looks. Little smudges, I guess, maybe is what it's called.
So while we're talking about some of your favorite things to draw, what are some of your least favorite things to draw?
My least favorite things to draw? That's easy. It would have to be like cars or airplanes or Sorry, my cat's being loud.
That's okay.
I'll scream over the sound of my cat. Yeah, definitely cars or airplanes, boats. I felt really bad. Like a long time ago, I still do them once in a while. I do like free drawings for kids. And when my fiance is with me, he's very much like, he likes drawing, robots and Transformers or whatever, and comic book characters, stuff like that. But a kid had come to me and asked me for a specific Transformer character, and I was just like sweating, like, can I do this? But I did it, and I used reference, call back to the reference. It will help you a whole lot. But yeah, those are my least favorite things to draw, probably.
I totally understand. Yeah, not everybody can draw everything, and that's okay. It doesn't devalue you at all as an artist.
No, if you want to draw the same thing a million times, do it. I feel like I do that sometimes. So, my portfolio is animals and creatures and mermaids. It's what it is.
I was just taking a look in chat, see if we have anything else. Nothing yet.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna make a joke. Please don't come to me and ask me to draw a Transformer. I mean, you can, but it's gonna take me a long time.
That's fair enough.
Yeah. I miss doing the cons and doing the free sketches for kids. That was so much fun.
Yeah, I know. They'll be back before we know it, but for
Yeah.
right now, it's nice to still be able to be together but separate so that we could still, enjoy the arts.
Yes. I'm putting in some shadows here and some other like smudgy color variations, which, sorry, what are you doing, silly? Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I'm putting in some darker shapes, some blocking in some like the shadows there. And I put some lighter like shines. Actually, I'm gonna do more later, but I'm gonna put in some shiny bits in the tail. Have you ever seen a black squirrel, by the way?
We call them shadow squirrels.
Okay, so you've seen them.
Mm-hmm.
So where I work, and it's weird, like, so I live in Chicago, but I work in Arlington Heights.
Beautiful town.
And in that, like, I thought it was only in like this area of Illinois because I've never seen them anywhere else. There's like a little population of like pitch black squirrels, and they're so cool. So I've had this illustration in my head for a little bit. I was like, I need to draw a black squirrel. They're so cool.
Oh, we have a question from chat. It says, do you draw cats?
Do I draw cats? Of course I draw cats. Yes. I once in a while, I'll be like, I haven't drawn a cat in a while. What's wrong with me? So, I think I'm due for a cat drawing, actually. But yes, I love drawing cats.
Yep. So we've been hearing your kitty roommates in the background. Do you want to tell us a little bit about them real quick? Because we know people love cats.
People love cats. Oh, and of course now she's gone. She heard you. I have two cats. I have Irie and I have Kokomo. They're both older. Irie's 14 and Kokomo is 11.
Goodness.
And yeah, and I've only had them for like 5-ish years. But I love them. Irie is the best cat in the whole world. You cannot convince me otherwise.
Do you find inspiration in your pets?
Oh yeah, all the time. I mean, they're certainly good reference if they're around and I'm trying to draw a cat or a similar, an animal with a similar shape. And cats are a lot of fun to draw because they are, I don't know how to explain it. They're
liquid. They're liquid.
They're liquid. They're sacks of potatoes. They're like fluid. It's so weird. Like they have bones, they have muscle structure, and yet their bodies are like bloop. So
chat would like to know if the squirrel has a name.
The squirrel doesn't have a name, not yet. We should give it a name.
Ooh.
I'm open to all names for this black squirrel.
Calabi?
Ooh, I like it. I'm gonna write these down.
If you guys have some suggestions, go ahead and hit us up in chat.
Yeah.
Oh, so we have a latecomer for digital drawing. They want to know, how do they start and what tools do they need?
How did this start?
They say I'm a latecomer to digital drawing.
Oh,
How do
oh,
I
oh.
start and what tools do I need to
Oh,
start?
I see. I apologize. I can't. So I would say that and once again, I work in a very specific area. I don't know everything and, all the things that are out there. But what I usually suggest to people who are trying to get into digital art is the easiest thing, which is an iPad. And you don't actually have to get an iPad. If you have a computer, let me start over. If you have a computer already, actually, the easiest thing would be to get like one of those little bamboo tablets.
Yes.
I think those are fairly reasonable, and they make littler ones, and you can always try that out. Apple, though, however, you don't have to get an iPad Pro. They're regular iPads, which are much more reasonable, in price, if that's a concern.
Just to interject
Yes.
super quick, bamboo tablets have been discontinued by
Oh.
Wacom. I actually found that out the hard way because mine died and I needed to replace it, and
Oh,
the
no.
tablets have jumped in price. But you can still go to like a Micro Center and find like a
Oh, yeah.
basic starting tablet. You don't need to spend a lot. You can spend under $100 for your first tablet and get ready to go.
Yeah,
I'm talking drawing tablet, not like a tablet. Drawing tablet.
Drawing tablet, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I do know that what I was saying earlier is I know that Apple, they're like regular, like introductory iPads, not iPad Pro. Those actually you can draw on as well with the Apple Pencil or whatever other stylus that you might be interested in. And the programs I would recommend are, Adobe Sketch has a free app. That one's really good. It's not as extensive as like Procreate, for example, or Photoshop, but I actually used Adobe Sketch for a while, and that one I remember enjoying. But Procreate is amazing. I think it's like $10 in the App Store. I might, don't quote me on that. If anyone knows, please tell me. It's been a long time.
Yes, yeah. We have another name suggestion of Ove, OVE.
Oh, okay. I'm writing these down.
This is a very happy, beautiful little friend that you've drawn here.
Thank you. Yeah, the video's over, so this is what we have. I like it. Thank you.
Another name suggestion is Caliban, Caliban.
I love these.
Right? Yes.
Thank you so much.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the background real quick?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I actually, it was a very last minute thing, but something else that I really like to do is I'll grab a different brush. Actually, I mentioned it earlier. It's like a watercolor type brush that's in Procreate. I'll make another layer all the way at the bottom, so it's behind everything. And I'll just really quickly go around the subject matter kind of loosey-goosey. And I might bring the opacity down a little bit so it's not so like bright or as stark. And then I take the either the eraser tool or a brush that is white, and I'll put in I love doing little speckles, like little glowy bits in the background. Don't know why. So I'll put little speckles all around, and I'll maybe do some lines to like cut out parts of the background as well. You can kind of see them on the left and the right. Just to give it a little something.
Yeah, you don't have to do a lot sometimes. Sometimes a little goes a long way.
Yeah. And it's entirely possible, I mentioned this earlier as well, it's entirely possible that I will come back to this and, I can see myself lightening up the reds in the mushroom. I can see myself putting some more details in the ground. It's just whatever I feel like. But I'm pretty satisfied with what we've got here.
That's one of the benefits of going digital, is if you save your file with your layers, you can always go back and you can always do more to it.
Always save your layers. Always do that. Oh my goodness. It's very important.
I was wondering if chat has any more questions. We're kind of running on about like 5 more minutes. Thank you again for being able to do, this beautiful piece for us and for being able to come join us with Comic-Con. Would you like to plug your social media while we're here still so people could
Sure.
find you?
Yeah, I'd love to. I am most active on Instagram, and you can find me there at Look What Steph Drew. Otherwise, if you Google Steph Stanga Instagram, I'm pretty sure I'm the first one that comes up. My website is also stephstanga.com, just my first and last name.com. And I'm doing this event, and I'm doing Indiana Comic-Con in October. Well, hopefully in
Hopefully.
October. So come see me if you're from around there. I'm on TikTok. I'm on I'm on Facebook. My Instagram really lists all of them, and my online shop as well.
Thank you, host, for throwing up those links in chat, stephstanga.com, and Look What
Thank
Steph
you.
Drew on Instagram.
Thank you so much.
It's so perfect. Thank you again for always, being a part of our Comic-Con and showing other artists, our kids, adults, that there's local artists in their community that do beautiful work and want to share it with everyone.
Yeah, of course. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I love doing this. So thank
All
you.
right. Well, it looks like chat's kind of quieted down. I think they've been very happy with what they've seen. So I'm going to go ahead and say thanks again to you, Steph. And there's plenty more stuff going on. Penny, do you want to give us our outro of what else is going on today?
We're going to lunch right now, yay. But after that, we
Ooh.
have a panel with women in comics, and we have one on soul creators where they're doing all their writing, their art and everything. And then we have a cosplay panel at the end.
So much
So
fun.
please try to drop in on some of those if you can. We would love to see you. And if you miss them for some reason, we are live on Facebook, and we are up on, I think, the library YouTube page as well. So thank you. Thanks, Naomi. Thank you,
Thank you,
Stephanie.
everyone.
Yeah, and Chris has all the controls. So if you guys want to leave, you can. He'll close us down when he gets when
All right.
he's